Chosen one, listen to me carefully. I have an urgent and important message to release today. This message is not for everyone. If you are not walking the divine path of God, if your heart is not aligned with truth, obedience, and spiritual growth, this message will not resonate with you. Only God's true followers, only those who are genuinely chosen, will feel pulled to stay here. And the fact that you are listening right now tells me something powerful. This message has reached you at the exact moment God intended. Not early, not late, perfectly timed. Today, God is revealing something you have felt but could not explain. Chosen one, God is removing every person who blocked you, every delay, every hidden resistance, every human obstacle that stood between you and your assignment is being taken out of your path. This is not random. This is divine intervention. What I am about to share will bring clarity to your confusion, peace to your spirit, and strength to your heart. Stay with me until the end, because many chosen ones walk away too early and miss the final confirmation God wants them to hear. Before we continue, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need confirmation right now. And comment 777 in the comments to declare that you are aligned, protected, and moving in divine order.
The hidden war you couldn't see. Chosen one, I need you to breathe for a moment and listen slowly. What you went through was not random. What you felt was not imagination. And what confused you for so long was never a sign of weakness. You were standing in the middle of a hidden war, one you could not see with your physical eyes, but one that your spirit felt every single day. There were moments when you did everything right. You prayed, you stayed patient, you tried to remain kind, humble, obedient. And yet things stalled. Doors refused to open. People misunderstood you. Progress slowed down without explanation. That is when doubt tried to creep in. You wondered if you were doing something wrong. You questioned yourself. Sometimes you even questioned God in silence. Let me tell you the truth with authority and clarity. The resistance you faced was not because you were off track. It was because you were exactly on track. Chosen ones attract opposition before elevation. Always. Not because you are arrogant, but because your assignment carries weight. When God places something valuable inside a vessel, pressure follows. Not everyone around you was meant to walk with you forever. Some were temporary, some were tests, and some became obstacles without even realizing it. This is the part many people never understand. Spiritual warfare does not always look dark or dramatic. It does not always come through obvious enemies. Most of the battles you fought came through confusion, emotional exhaustion, delays, distractions, and subtle discouragement. The enemy does not always try to destroy you. Sometimes the goal is simply to slow you down, to make you tired, to make you question your worth, to make you settle for less than what God promised. You felt drained around certain people and could not explain why. Conversations left you heavy instead of lifted. Plans kept falling apart at the last minute. Opportunities slipped through your hands even though you were qualified. That was not coincidence. That was resistance working quietly behind familiar faces and familiar situations. And listen carefully. This is important. Not everyone who blocked you did it intentionally. Some people block you because they cannot go where God is taking you. Your growth exposes their comfort zone. Your obedience confronts their disobedience. Your discipline reflects what they avoid. Without saying a word, your life became a mirror. And mirrors make people uncomfortable. So God allowed distance. He allowed delay. He allowed silence. Not to punish you, but to protect you. There were seasons when God slowed things down on purpose, because if certain doors had opened too early, The wrong people would have walked through them with you, and that would have cost you far more than the delay ever did. You also need to understand this, chosen one. Isolation was part of the strategy. There were moments when you felt alone, misunderstood, unsupported. You wondered why help never showed up when you needed it most. But God was teaching you discernment. He was strengthening your inner voice. He was removing your dependency on external validation. Because where He is taking you, you will not always be applauded. You must learn to stand even when no one claps. The hidden war attacked your mind more than anything else. Overthinking became familiar. You replayed conversations. You analyzed reactions. You tried to make sense of behavior that never added up. That mental exhaustion was not accidental. A tired mind is easier to discourage. A confused heart is easier to mislead. That is why God stepped in quietly and began shutting things down without asking for your permission. You may not have noticed it at first, but things started to change. Conversations shortened. Messages stopped. Invitations disappeared. People who once had access to you slowly drifted away. And instead of fighting to hold things together, something inside you became still. That stillness was God saying, "Rest. Let me handle what you cannot. Here is a truth that will bring you peace." If God allowed someone to walk away, it means their role was finished. You did not lose anything valuable. You were being relieved of weight you were never meant to carry long term. The chosen are not meant to drag people into seasons they refused to prepare for. The war you could not see was shaping you. It was refining your patience, sharpening your discernment, teaching you to listen more than speak, teaching you when to move and when to stay still, and most importantly, teaching you that God does not need noise to work. He works best in silence. Many times you wanted answers. You wanted clarity. You wanted God to explain why things felt unfair. Instead, He gave you endurance. He gave you spiritual muscle. He gave you the ability to keep going even when things made no sense. That is not weakness. That is training. Now hear this with confidence. The season of constant resistance is ending, not because the enemy gave up, but because God stepped in with authority. What you were fighting in prayer, God is now handling through removal. What you could not fix through effort, God is correcting through separation. You survived the hidden war, and the fact that you are still standing, still seeking God, still watching messages like this, tells me everything I need to know. You were never blocked permanently. You were being protected temporarily. And now, the battlefield is shifting. People. God removes and why He does it. Chosen one, I want you to listen without emotion for a moment. Not because emotion is wrong, but because clarity requires stillness. One of the hardest lessons God teaches His chosen is this: not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. And when God removes people, He does it with precision, not cruelty, with wisdom, not impulse. Many believers struggle here. They think if God removes someone, it means failure, rejection, or loss. That is not true. God removes people because He sees what you cannot see. He sees what they will cost you in the future. He sees how their presence slowly interferes with your calling, even when they appear supportive on the surface. Let me speak plainly. God removes people who drain your energy without restoring your spirit. These are individuals who constantly need from you but never pour back into you. After interactions with them, you feel tired, heavy, unsettled. That is not normal fellowship. That is imbalance. God never designed you to be an emotional supplier to those who refuse to grow. God also removes people who delay you, not because they are evil, but because they move at a pace that no longer matches your assignment. You tried to slow down for them. You explained yourself. You waited. But your obedience kept pulling you forward while their comfort kept holding them back. Over time, that tension becomes resistance. God removes delay when delay threatens destiny. Then there are those God removes because they distract you. These people create noise, constant opinions, constant drama, constant emotional reactions. They pull your focus away from prayer, from discipline, from obedience. Slowly, without realizing it, you start reacting instead of discerning. God removes distractions before they become derailments. Here is something most people never hear from the pulpit. God removes people who distort your identity. Around certain individuals, you felt smaller. You spoke less. You second-guessed yourself. You started editing your truth to keep peace. That was not humility. That was suppression. God never called you to shrink so others could feel comfortable. When your presence threatens their insecurity, they will try to minimize you. God will not allow that for long. And listen carefully. Some people are removed not because they are bad, but because they have access they were never meant to keep. Proximity is powerful. Not everyone deserves front-row access to your life, your thoughts, your calling. Familiarity without alignment leads to interference. God removes access when it becomes dangerous. You may ask, why didn't God warn me first? Why didn't he explain? Because explanation often leads to negotiation, and God does not negotiate with destiny. If he told you everything in advance, you would try to fix, rescue, or delay what needed to end. So God acts quietly. He allows distance. He allows misunderstanding. He allows people to reveal themselves naturally. And when separation happens, it feels sudden to you, but it was calculated in heaven. There is another reason God removes people. Some were sent to test your obedience, not to join your future. They were lessons, not companions. They exposed where you overgive, over-explain, or overstay. And once the lesson is learned, the chapter must close. Now, let me address the pain you felt, the confusion, the unanswered questions. You wanted closure. You wanted conversation. You wanted honesty. But closure does not always come through dialogue. Sometimes closure comes through distance. Sometimes peace comes when the conversation never happens. God knows which explanation would heal you and which would reopen wounds. Do not chase people God has removed. That is one of the most important instructions you will ever hear. When God removes someone, he is not asking you to follow them. He is asking you to trust him. Chasing what God removed creates resistance in your spirit. You feel it immediately. Anxiety increases. Peace decreases. That is your confirmation. Let me tell you something freeing. People who leave when God removes them were never holding you up. They were holding you back. You survived without them. You grew without them. You heard God clearer without them. That alone is evidence of divine wisdom. And here is the part that brings deep peace. God never removes without replacing. He never subtracts without adding. But replacement does not always come in human form immediately. Sometimes God replaces people with peace, with clarity, with strength, with focus. And later, at the right time, he sends aligned connections, not attachments. You are not heartless for moving on. You are obedient. You are not cold for letting go. You are mature. Forgiveness does not mean reconnection. Love does not require access. And obedience sometimes looks like silence. There were people who only knew the old version of you, the version that explained, the version that tolerated, the version that stayed too long. God is protecting the new version of you, and the new version cannot survive in old environments. So if someone faded, let them fade. If they walked away, let them go. If the connection dissolved without explanation, let it remain dissolved. God is not confused. Heaven is not scrambling. Everything is happening according to divine order. You were not rejected. You were redirected. And the people God removed were never meant to see where he is taking you next. Chosen one, there is another layer to this truth that brings deep emotional healing when you finally see it. God also removes people to protect your spirit from contamination. Not everyone who smiles at you is clean in heart. Not everyone who prays with you is aligned with your assignment. Some people carry unresolved wounds, bitterness, jealousy, or fear that slowly leaks into your atmosphere. And atmosphere matters more than you realize. What surrounds you eventually shapes you. God is very intentional about what He allows near those He has chosen. When your spirit began to grow sharper, more sensitive, more aware, certain energies could no longer coexist peacefully with you. That is why tension appeared where there was once comfort. That is why conversations felt forced. That is why silence replaced connection. Your spirit outgrew the environment, and God honored that growth by creating separation. You also need to hear this without guilt. God removes people who refuse to respect your boundaries. The chosen ones often struggle here because they lead with compassion. You gave chances. You explained yourself. You tolerated disrespect in the name of peace. But God does not bless self-abandonment. When someone repeatedly crosses your boundaries, ignores your needs, or dismisses your discernment, God steps in as your defender. Removal becomes protection. Some people were removed because they only had access to you during your struggle, not your strength. They were comfortable with the version of you that needed help, not the version of you that walks in authority. When God began restoring your confidence, your voice, your clarity, they became uncomfortable. Instead of adjusting, they resisted. And resistance cannot remain in a life God is accelerating. Understand this, chosen one. God does not remove people to isolate you forever. He removes them to recalibrate your standards, to teach you discernment, to help you recognize alignment instead of attachment, so that next time you choose differently, not from loneliness, but from wisdom. And finally, God removes people to remind you of this eternal truth. Your source has never been human. People were channels, not providers. Assignments, not anchors. When God removes a channel, He is not cutting your supply. He is redirecting it. Your provision, your peace, your purpose have always flowed from Him. So rest in this. Nothing was taken from you. What left was already finished. And what remains is enough to carry you into everything God promised. The removal was mercy. The signs God has already started removing them. Chosen one, by now you have probably felt it. Something shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, deeply, and unmistakably. God rarely announces removal with noise. He does it with peace. And if you pay attention, the signs have been there all along. One of the first signs is distance without effort. You did not argue. You did not confront. You did not force separation. It simply happened. Conversations that once flowed now feel unnecessary. Messages stopped, and instead of panic, you felt relief. That is not coldness. That is alignment. When God removes someone, He also removes the emotional pull that once kept you attached. Another sign is silence replacing explanation. There was a time you would have fought for clarity. You would have explained yourself repeatedly. You would have chased understanding. But now, something inside you is calm. You no longer feel the need to prove your intentions. You let people misunderstand you without correction. That is spiritual maturity. When God is handling something, He teaches you to stop managing it yourself. You may have noticed that certain people suddenly stopped supporting you. They stopped asking questions. They stopped showing interest. And strangely, instead of feeling rejected, you felt lighter. That lightness is not coincidence. God removes burdens first, not people. When the weight lifts, the connection dissolves naturally. Another sign is that doors connected to certain people closed without warning. Opportunities tied to them disappeared. Plans never materialized. You tried to revive them, but they refused to move. That was God blocking access. Not because the opportunity was bad, but because the association was misaligned. God will shut down good things if they lead you to the wrong place. You also became emotionally detached without becoming bitter. This is important. Bitterness means the wound is still open. Detachment means the lesson is complete. You no longer replay conversations. You no longer feel triggered by their behavior. Their presence or absence no longer controls your mood. That is a sign God healed something while removing someone. Another clear sign is that your discernment sharpened. You started noticing patterns you once ignored. You saw through excuses. You recognized manipulation, inconsistency, and emotional imbalance quickly. And instead of confronting, you withdrew. Not out of fear, but out of wisdom. When God trains a chosen one, He teaches them when silence speaks louder than correction. You may also have experienced misunderstanding without defense. People formed opinions about you that were untrue. They questioned your intentions. They misread your silence. And yet, you did not feel the urge to explain. That restraint did not come from pride. It came from trust. You trusted God to reveal truth in His time. That is a major sign of spiritual growth. Another sign is the loss of appetite for chaos. Drama drains you now. Emotional roller coasters exhaust you. You crave peace more than excitement. That shift is not accidental. God removes chaos by first removing your tolerance for it. What once entertained you now irritates you. What once pulled you in now pushes you away. You may have noticed that you outgrew conversations you once enjoyed. Topics feel shallow, complaints feel repetitive, negativity feels loud, and you find yourself retreating into quiet, reflection, prayer. That is not isolation, that is preparation. God often pulls chosen ones inward before launching them outward. Here is a sign many people miss. You stopped praying for certain people the same way, not because you stopped caring, but because God removed the assignment. You no longer feel responsible for fixing, saving, or carrying them. You release them to God without guilt. That release is divine permission to move forward. You may also notice people removing themselves. They stop calling, they stop inviting, they fade without explanation. And instead of chasing, you bless them silently. That is God answering prayers you prayed years ago but were not ready to receive. Another sign is increased peace even when things feel uncertain. You do not have all the answers, but you are not anxious. You are calm in the unknown. That peace is confirmation. God never removes something without stabilizing your spirit first. Even your body responds. You sleep better, your chest feels lighter, your thoughts are clearer. Stress reduces. That is because emotional weight left your life. God cares about your mental health. Removal is part of healing. You may have felt grief without regret. You acknowledge what was, you honor the memories, but you do not wish to return. That is healthy closure. God does not always close doors violently. Sometimes He simply allows you to walk away without turning back. Let me say this clearly. If someone left and peace entered, God was involved. If something ended and clarity followed, God was guiding. If distance formed and confusion faded, God was protecting. Do not romanticize what God removed. Do not question what He ended. The signs are not meant to confuse you. They are meant to reassure you. You are not losing people. You are losing interference. And the fact that you recognize these signs tells me something powerful. God has already begun clearing your path. The removal is not coming, it is happening. Chosen one, there is one more sign that confirms God has already started removing what blocked you, and it is subtle but powerful. Your inner dialogue has changed. You no longer speak to yourself with accusation. You are kinder to your own soul. Where you once blamed yourself for everything that went wrong, you now pause and reflect instead of attack. That shift did not come from self-help. It came from healing. When God removes the wrong influences, your inner voice begins to sound like truth instead of condemnation. Another sign is that your prayers have become simpler. You are no longer begging God to fix people or situations. You pray for wisdom, peace, and direction. That is a sign of trust. Desperation fades when alignment increases. You are no longer praying from fear of loss, but from confidence in God's guidance. You may also notice that your reactions are slower. Things that once triggered immediate emotion now pass through you quietly. You observe instead of explode. You pause instead of react. That emotional regulation is not suppression, it is strength. God removes chaos by first stabilizing your emotional center. And here is a sign that brings deep comfort. You feel God closer than before, not louder, but nearer. His presence feels steady, not urgent. That nearness is God reassuring you that you are not alone during the removal process. When people leave, God steps closer. Finally, you have stopped trying to force the future. You trust timing more. You rest more. You move with intention instead of anxiety. That surrender is not passivity, it is wisdom. God removes pressure along with people. So, if you are noticing these changes, do not question them. They are not signs of loss, they are signs of alignment. Something heavy has already been lifted. Something unnecessary has already been taken away. God did not remove them to hurt you. He removed them so you could finally breathe. Why God had to do this before your next season? Chosen one, there is a reason God moved before you fully understood what he was doing. God always prepares the ground before he reveals the harvest. He never brings you into a new season carrying old weight. What he is leading you into now required space, clarity, and protection. That is why removal had to happen first. Your next season carries greater responsibility, greater visibility, greater spiritual authority, and not everyone can handle that environment. Some people would have misused your access, others would have slowed your obedience, and a few would have tried to benefit from what God was building through you without honoring him. God removes in advance what would later become a liability. Here is a truth that chosen ones must accept. You cannot carry everyone into what God promised you, not because you are better, but because assignments are specific. What God is releasing over your life requires focus. It requires obedience without negotiation. It requires clarity without constant emotional noise. God knew that if certain people remained, you would be pulled in too many directions. Your next season also demands discernment. God is sharpening your ability to recognize alignment quickly. That is why he allowed misalignment to become uncomfortable. You could no longer ignore it. What once felt manageable started feeling heavy. That discomfort was not punishment, it was preparation. God also removed people because your next season requires privacy. Not secrecy, but protection. There are things God is developing in you that cannot be exposed too early. When too many voices have access, revelation becomes diluted. God guards what is precious, and you are more valuable than you realize. Another reason removal had to happen is because your faith is being upgraded. In your next season, God wants you to rely less on human reassurance and more on divine instruction. You are learning to move without applause, to obey without consensus, to trust God even when others do not understand. That level of faith cannot grow in crowded spaces. You may have noticed that God stripped away comfort. Familiar routines changed. Support systems shifted. That was intentional. Comfort can become a cage. God removes what you lean on so you learn to lean into him. Not because he wants you dependent, but because he wants you anchored. Your next season also requires emotional maturity. God cannot elevate a chosen one who still reacts from wounds. That is why he allowed healing through separation. You learn to regulate your emotions, to sit with discomfort, to release without resentment. Those are not small lessons, they are qualifications. There is also a timing element here. God removes blockers before acceleration. If he moved you forward without clearing the path, the collision would have caused damage. God is precise. He does not rush destiny. He prepares it. Some people were removed because they only knew the old version of you. They had expectations that no longer fit who you are becoming. Your next season requires freedom from old labels, freedom from past roles, freedom from outdated perceptions. God removes familiarity so you can step into new identity without resistance. You may wonder why God did not wait until everything was perfect. Because obedience does not wait for comfort. God moves when alignment is ready, not when emotions are settled. He trusted that you would catch up emotionally once your spirit recognized the shift. Let me speak to your heart. You did not imagine the heaviness you felt before the removal. That heaviness was your spirit warning you that something could not continue into the next chapter. God listened to what you could not articulate. Your next season also requires speed. When God opens certain doors, hesitation can cost you. Indecision can delay you. God removed what would have caused you to overthink, overconsult, or overexplain. You are learning to move when God says move. And here is something very important. God removes before blessing because blessing magnifies everything. If the wrong people were still around, blessing would have exposed more conflict, more jealousy, more entitlement. God protects you from that. You are entering a season where your presence will carry weight. Your words will matter. Your decisions will influence others. God cannot afford interference at that level, so He cleaned the environment first. Chosen one, this is not loss, this is alignment. This is God preparing you for something you prayed for but did not fully understand at the time. The removal was not the end of something good. It was the beginning of something right. Chosen one, there is another reason God had to do this before your next season, and it is one most people overlook. Your next season requires spiritual cleanliness, not perfection, but clarity. God does not pour new wine into containers cluttered with old residue, emotional residue, relational residue, mental residue. Some people carried pieces of your past that no longer belonged in your future, and God, in His mercy, removed them so your spirit could breathe again. You see, elevation changes your environment. Higher ground has thinner air. Fewer people can breathe there comfortably. God knew that some connections would struggle where He is taking you. They would feel out of place, unsettled, threatened. And rather than allowing friction to damage you later, God created distance early. Your next season also demands integrity under pressure. When God begins to expand your influence, temptations increase. Compromises appear subtle. Shortcuts look reasonable. God removed people who would have normalized what He is calling you to resist. He is protecting your obedience, not restricting your freedom. There is also a divine timing lesson embedded in this removal. God is teaching you to recognize when a season has ended without forcing it to continue. Many chosen ones stay too long out of loyalty, out of fear of hurting others, out of habit. God is training you to honor seasons without clinging to them. That maturity is essential where you are going. Another reason God acted before your next season is because He is restoring your authority. Authority requires clarity. You cannot speak boldly while constantly explaining yourself. You cannot lead while doubting your discernment. God removed voices that confused you so you could hear His voice clearly again. Notice how your confidence is quieter now. You are not loud. You are not defensive. You simply know. That knowing did not come from arrogance. It came from alignment. God had to silence external noise so your inner compass could recalibrate. Your next season also involves divine acceleration. Things will move faster than before. Doors will open quickly. Decisions will matter immediately. God removed hesitation partners, people who needed excessive reassurance, people who required constant emotional processing, not because they were wrong, but because speed demands simplicity. And let me tell you something comforting. God removed people so you could finally see yourself clearly. Without projection, without pressure, without expectation. In the quiet, you began to understand who you are and what you carry. That self-awareness is priceless. It is protection against manipulation. Another reason God did this now is because your next season will test your obedience publicly. People will watch how you move, how you respond, how you handle blessing, God refined you privately so you could stand steadily when attention comes. There were also generational reasons. Some cycles were never meant to continue through you. God removed relationships that mirrored old patterns so you could break them permanently. You are not just stepping into a new season for yourself. You are setting a new standard for those who come after you. Chosen one, God did not rush this process. He waited until your spirit was strong enough to survive the silence, until your heart was healed enough to release without bitterness, until your faith was stable enough to trust Him without explanations. That is why the removal happened when it did. And now you are lighter, clearer, more grounded, not because life is easier, but because you are aligned. God did not remove people to make you lonely. He removed them so you could finally walk free into what He prepared for you long before you arrived. Healing the emotional aftermath. Chosen one, after God removes what blocked you, He does not rush you forward. He allows you to rest. Because removal, even when necessary, leaves emotional residue. And God is not only concerned with where you are going, He is deeply concerned with how you arrive there. You may feel a strange mix of emotions right now. Relief and grief, peace and sadness, freedom and uncertainty. That does not mean you are confused. It means you are human. Healing is not the absence of feeling. It is the ability to feel without being controlled by what you feel. One of the first wounds God begins to heal is abandonment. When people leave, especially unexpectedly, the mind tries to create stories. You ask yourself what you did wrong, what you could have said differently, where you failed. But listen to me carefully. Not every ending is your fault. Some endings are divine decisions, not personal rejections. God removes people without asking your permission because He sees beyond your emotional attachment. Healing begins when you stop revisiting the moment of separation. Replaying conversations keeps wounds open. God invites you to release the need for understanding everything. Peace often comes when explanation is no longer required. Another layer God heals is guilt. Many chosen ones feel guilty for moving on, guilty for feeling better without certain people, guilty for not missing them the way they thought they should. That guilt is unnecessary. Healing does not dishonor the past. It honors growth. You are allowed to evolve. God also heals your nervous system. You were on emotional alert for a long time, watching moods, managing reactions, preparing for conflict. Now, your body is learning that it is safe again. That is why rest feels deeper. That is why silence feels comforting instead of lonely. God is retraining your inner world. You may notice tears come without warning, not because you want them to, but because your body is releasing stored emotion. Do not resist it. Tears are not weakness, they are release. God designed them as part of healing. Another important step in healing is forgiveness, not for their benefit, but for your freedom. Forgiveness does not mean reconciliation. It means releasing the emotional debt. You forgive so you do not carry bitterness into your next season. Bitterness hardens the heart. God wants yours soft and discerning. God also heals your trust. When people leave or disappoint you, trust takes a hit. You become cautious, guarded. That caution is understandable. But God gently teaches you to trust again, not blindly, but wisely. Trust rooted in discernment is strength, not fear. One of the most beautiful parts of this season is learning to sit with yourself, without distraction, without noise, without external validation. You discover your own company is peaceful. That is a sign of wholeness. God wants you complete, not dependent. You may also be healing from emotional exhaustion, carrying others, fixing situations, overgiving. God removes you from that pattern by teaching you boundaries. Boundaries are not walls, they are doors with locks. You choose who enters. Healing also involves redefining love. Love does not always mean staying. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes love means distance. God teaches you that love without wisdom leads to depletion. Let me speak to your heart again. You did not waste your time with the wrong people. You learned, you grew, you gained discernment. Nothing was wasted. God redeems every season. As healing continues, your inner voice becomes gentler. You stop criticizing yourself. You encourage yourself. You speak life instead of accusation. That is God's voice blending with yours. You may notice your prayers shift. You pray with gratitude instead of desperation. You ask for guidance instead of rescue. That is healing. God also heals your identity. You are not defined by who stayed or who left. You are defined by who God says you are. Chosen, protected, guided, loved. This season may feel quiet. Do not rush it. Healing does not need applause. It needs patience. God is rebuilding you from the inside out. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. And wholeness is the greatest preparation for what comes next. Chosen one, there is also healing happening in places you did not even realize were wounded. When relationships end or shift, your sense of security is often shaken. Even strong believers experience this quietly. You begin to wonder who is safe, who is consistent, who will remain. God gently heals this by becoming your constant. When human reliability fades, divine reliability becomes undeniable. You may notice that you are learning to respond rather than react. Old triggers no longer pull you into emotional spirals. You pause, you breathe, you choose peace. That is not avoidance. That is mastery. God is restoring your emotional authority. Another layer of healing is learning to trust your discernment again. There was a time you ignored your intuition to keep peace. You overrode what you felt in your spirit. God heals that by validating what you sensed all along. As clarity returns, self-doubt dissolves. You begin to trust yourself again, and that trust is sacred. God is also healing your expectation of relationships. You no longer expect people to be what they are not. You release fantasy and accept reality. That acceptance is not cynicism. It is wisdom. Healing teaches you to see people clearly without judgment or attachment. You may find yourself speaking less about the past, not because it did not matter, but because it no longer controls you. Memories lose their emotional charge. That is a sign of completion. God closes chapters gently when the lesson has been learned. There is also physical healing taking place. Tension leaves your shoulders. Your breathing deepens. Your sleep stabilizes. Emotional stress always lives in the body. When God removes what drained you, your body responds with relief. And hear this carefully. Healing does not mean you will never feel pain again. It means pain will no longer define you. You will feel, but you will not be ruled by what you feel. That is emotional freedom. God is not rushing you through this process. He is walking with you through it. Every quiet moment, every reflective pause, every gentle realization is part of restoration. You are not healing to go back. You are healing to move forward stronger, clearer, and more grounded than ever before. What God is leading you into now. Chosen one, now that the path has been cleared and your spirit has been steadied, God is not leaving you in uncertainty. He is leading you into something new, not loud, not chaotic, but purposeful, grounded, and divinely ordered. This is not a season of survival. This is a season of alignment. What God is leading you into first is clarity. Not clarity that comes from having all the answers, but clarity that comes from inner peace. You may not know every step ahead, but you know which steps not to take anymore. Confusion has lost its grip on you. Your decisions feel calmer. Your direction feels quieter but stronger. That is God guiding without pressure. God is also leading you into confidence that does not need validation. You no longer need constant reassurance to move forward. You trust what God has shown you in prayer and reflection. You are learning to act without announcing, to move without explaining, to obey without asking for permission. That is spiritual authority maturing. Another thing God is leading you into is discernment in relationships. You are no longer impressed by words alone. You observe consistency. You notice patterns. You listen more than you speak. You allow time to reveal alignment. This is not suspicion. It is wisdom earned through experience. God is also restoring your joy. Not excitement that comes and goes, but steady joy rooted in purpose. You enjoy simple moments again. Silence does not scare you. Solitude refreshes you. You laugh without heaviness. That joy is strength. It signals that healing is complete. You may also feel a renewed sense of purpose stirring. Ideas return. Vision sharpens. Motivation reappears. Not forced, but natural. God often restores vision after removing distractions. When your energy is no longer scattered, focus returns. God is leading you into greater discipline. You guard your time better. You choose rest without guilt. You say no without explanation. Your routines become intentional. That structure is not restriction, it is protection. Another important shift is your relationship with fear. Fear no longer controls your decisions. It may still appear, but it does not lead. You acknowledge it and move anyway. That courage is not reckless. It is rooted in trust. God is also leading you into a season of divine connections. Not many, but aligned. People who understand your silence. People who respect your boundaries. People who walk with God in their own way. These connections will feel easy, not forced. Peace will be the confirmation. You may notice your prayer life feels different. Less words, more listening, less asking, more thanking. That shift means you trust God's direction. God is also leading you into impact. Your words carry weight now. Your presence brings calm. Others are drawn to your steadiness. You influence without trying. That is spiritual maturity. Let me remind you of something important. This new season will not look like what you imagined years ago. It will be better, simpler, healthier. God removes chaos so peace can lead. You are not late. You are not behind. You are exactly where preparation meets promise. Do not rush. Do not look back. Do not doubt the process. God is not just leading you forward. He is walking with you into everything He prepared for you long before you were ready to receive it. Chosen one, what God is leading you into now also includes a deeper trust in timing. You are no longer trying to force outcomes or rush results. You understand that obedience positions you, and God handles the release. This patience is not passive, it is disciplined trust. You move when prompted, and you wait when instructed. That balance is rare, and God values it. God is also leading you into emotional stability. You are not as easily shaken by external circumstances. Praise does not inflate you. Criticism does not crush you. You remain centered. That stability allows God to entrust you with more responsibility without fear of burnout or pride. You may notice a shift in how you handle disappointment. When things do not work out, you do not spiral. You reflect, adjust, and continue. That resilience did not come from avoiding pain. It came from surviving it. God uses resilience as a foundation for leadership. Another area God is leading you into is spiritual authority. You speak with conviction, not volume. Your prayers are direct. Your boundaries are firm. You no longer negotiate with what God has already shown you. That authority comes from obedience, not ego. God is also leading you into rest without guilt. You are learning that rest is not laziness. It is obedience. A rested spirit hears God clearly. A rested mind discerns accurately. God is teaching you to honor rest as part of your assignment. There is also a creative awakening happening. Ideas surface unexpectedly. Insight flows during quiet moments. God speaks in stillness. He is awakening gifts that were dormant during seasons of survival. Creativity returns when safety is restored. God is leading you into stewardship. You are more mindful of what you consume mentally and emotionally. You protect your atmosphere. You choose peace over stimulation. That stewardship keeps your spirit clear. You may also feel drawn to deeper study, reflection, or prayer, not out of obligation, but hunger. God is increasing your capacity to receive revelation. This hunger prepares you for greater understanding. Another important shift is how you view success. Success is no longer measured by speed or visibility. It is measured by peace, obedience, and impact. That redefinition aligns you with God's values. God is also preparing you for influence without compromise. As doors open, you will be tested. Shortcuts will appear. God has trained you to recognize what costs too much spiritually. You choose integrity over opportunity. You may also notice you are less available to everyone. That is not selfishness. That is focus. God is teaching you that availability is currency. You invest it wisely now. Chosen one, what God is leading you into requires you to trust who you have become. You are not the same person who started this journey. You are wiser, stronger, more discerning. This next season will not demand that you prove yourself. It will invite you to be yourself fully, peacefully, and obediently. And that is where your greatest impact will flow naturally. Conclusion: stay aligned, stay still, stay ready. Chosen one, take a moment and breathe. Nothing that left your life was meant to stay. God did not remove people to punish you. He removed them to protect you, prepare you, and position you. What ended was not your support system. It was interference. What faded was not love. It was limitation. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are exactly where obedience meets promise. Every delay had purpose. Every separation had intention. God never wastes a season, and He never abandons those who walk with Him in truth. Now is not the time to force movement. Stay aligned. Keep your heart clean, your mind quiet, and your spirit sensitive. Stay still enough to hear God clearly, but ready enough to move when He speaks. Divine timing does not need panic. It needs trust. Do not look back at what God removed. Do not romanticize what drained you. Do not reopen doors God closed gently. Peace is your confirmation. Clarity is your evidence. The calm you feel now is proof that God is in control. You were chosen for this path because you could handle the refinement. You could survive the silence. You could release without bitterness. And now, you are ready to walk into what God prepared for you long before this moment. Before you go, chosen ones, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, tap the bell icon, and share this message with other chosen ones who need confirmation right now. And comment 777 in the comments to declare that you are aligned, protected, and walking confidently in divine order. Stay aligned. Stay still. Stay ready. God is not finished with you.